Bring up, I mean, the interesting thing that you've talked about or been shared to me was the Nomoli statues and how their influence of, you know, even goes back to ancient Egypt or maybe extraterrestrials and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly. There's a ley line.
Yeah.
Passing through Egypt.
Right.
That is very close to the original tribes that are in New Guinea.
Right.
Or they started off in New Guinea, and Futa Dalian. Futa Dalian.
Is it this star or something as well?
No, that's a place in Guinea. They could be 17,000 years old.
Right, yes, which throws history out the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, where we, and I think this is where it's really important, because there are so many traditions, the so-called myths, which I personally consider are unverified facts. They're
yes.
Not stuff people have made up, where you have these star people coming from the heavens, literally,
yes.
from the sky, and many of the ancient records and the artwork show UFOs. They show the people fighting in the sky.
Yes, I mean that's also tied into the Egyptians as well. On all their writings, you can see that there, can't you?
Yeah, and the semi-human, again, with the Egyptians, with the Indians, with an enormous amount of different cultures. In South America, they have these half human, half animals, or half other shaped entities.
Yes.
Coming down, and they're seen as gods, but in actual fact, people are now looking at things in a very different light and thinking, hold on a minute, if you read the pictures and the readings differently,
yes,
and take out the element that we think that they're stories and put it in the element of ancient history, factual,
yes,
you've got the extraterrestrials, these higher beings, coming onto the earth plane and teaching the humans and literally having sexual relationships with humans and bringing about different forms.
Yes.
As it's in the Bible, I'm sure you'll know, where the 8 fallen angels had sex with the people on the earth plane. Now these angels, including angels and anything else that comes from the heavens,
yes,
are considered to now be these higher beings, these extraterrestrials who are teaching mankind.
Yes.
Now, when one of the people who discovered DNA, Francis Crick, made a very, very interesting comment, and I will quote this just to make sure we've got it right.
Okay.
Are we witnessing here something so wondrous, so fantastically complex, that it could not be chemistry or random interaction of elements, but something far beyond our understanding? Now he was talking about DNA,
yes,
saying that the makeup of DNA was far too complex for evolution. There had to be intervention.
right.
Now, intervention, again, is reliant on these higher beings who have a plan,
yes,
and have sliced our DNA to provide us with additional information so that we can evolve and grow in a manner that we couldn't if they hadn't.
right. So are we talking about behaving in a better way, you know, sort of not being so hostile?
You talk to, actually, because there's also a myth that in actual fact we were created or made, shall we say, and we were a lot better than we are now, and the higher beings felt threatened by this, and so they deliberately dumbed us down.
Oh, right.
There's so many different thoughts on it. But as far as the statues are concerned,
Yes.
they represent the ancestors of the people who have the statues, and they're sacred, and they are prayed to. They are part of each family.
Yes.
And the modern day statues are of obviously African descent features.
Yes.
But the older ones, this is where you see semi-creatures being carved.
Yes.
And so the further away you go back, the more history you have at your fingertips about how we evolved, if you read it in a specific way.
Yes.
The God gene. So in other words, there's this gene that enables us to be more sentient, more aware, more reflective.
Yes.
Conscious. Okay. And there's also the aspect that in actual fact there are 12 strands. Now 12 is obviously a very important number that, it comes up again and again and again. Not 2. And we're only functioning on 2 strands at the moment of DNA. And you can actually, shall we say, waken up the other strands of DNA.
Uh-huh.
Which will further one's ability to evolve and grow with regard to the human self-actualization of awareness and higher consciousness.
So could we say this is through like being more meditative, learning meditation, opening up the subconscious part of the mind to become more aware?
It's physical, the mind isn't, but the mind is... The body is there to cater for the mind.
Yeah.
So the mind is so expansive, isn't it? The mind is endless. It goes on forever. It's eternal. So I don't see why it can't.
Well, I think you're quite right in that, because I think what it's doing is developing the metaphysical part of ourselves, the subconscious level, that communication level, whether we look at ESP or we look at clairvoyance, however we describe it, automatic writing, connecting with higher beings in some particular way. You'll suddenly be giving, through developing those energy centers called chakras, as we know, making us more aware and more sensitive to things that we see that others may not see. And we're talking of maybe auras and energy and being more sentient, more being able to sense a lot more as well, being a sensitive.
Awareness, right, okay, I hear where you're coming from. Our psychic ability are our senses, aren't they?
Yes.
Our senses are the key, if you like, that unlocks the door to our psychic abilities.
Yeah.
The mind, obviously, is the chariot for our psychic abilities.
Yes, and it is the point of distilling that mind till it becomes working with us and not against us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The mind is an amazing thing. Super solid.
Right.
Now, this state, super solid, is where we possess it. As our understanding has only just actually been recognised over the last few years as a state of matter. And again, my understanding is, you see on the films people being able to walk through matter. And you know that in South America there's this doorway carved out in a rock, and yet it goes nowhere.
Right.
And it's honoured, and its history is that the star people came down and were able to move in and out of this doorway made of solid rock.
Yes.
To another dimension, or go through some form of vortex or something like that.
Yes.
This supermatter is a super solid, is the ability to walk through matter.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm listening, and that relates to me as almost what we would call who've passed over, and I've just recently been working with someone who had what you could call as like a door, but it was like a portal, and these people were walking in and out all the time. This
Yes.
building was built over another building that had very strong energies,
Yes.
and therefore this person that had no awareness was watching these people walk through her lounge, through a part of her lounge and out the other side. And I would see this, you know, how many people who were perhaps spiritualists would
Yes.
see this as spirit coming back to help us, to support us, loved ones, guides, helpers. So it seems to take it into that realm of where they can walk through solid walls because they're a different frequency. I mean, we're all vibrating at a frequency, and we're not actually solid anyway.
Absolutely. And it also opens up the door that we can learn to do it with our minds as well.
Well, I think that's already been done. I mean, that's called astral projection.
As you know, the people in spirit, if you see them, and they do walk through walls.
Yes.
I've seen it myself many a time, especially around here. But they themselves appear to be non-entity, non-matter.
Yes, they're of a different vibration. It's like a hologram almost, isn't it?
Absolutely. The super solid is to do with us in this state.
Yes.
Having the ability, using our minds,
Yes.
to change the molecules in our physical state to be able to walk through matter.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible. I mean, I see that as astral travel, astral projection. Governments use it as seers.
This is all of the examples. I understand where you're coming from, but astral projection, you leave your body behind you. You go out in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't leave our body behind us. It comes with us. We have the ability to change our molecular structure to solid, super solid, so that our body disappears.
Yeah.
Now, you must have heard of people who have literally disappeared.
Yes, I've heard that, but to be honest, I can't see that ability to be entrusted to man as in general, because I don't know if they got the mind control to do it, the ability to do it. There's few.
The discussion, the class of matter.
Yes.
Indicates that we do, because nothing happens, as you well know, until the right time.
Yes, so I agree. I mean, it also takes into mind things like an apport, where something can be out of nowhere, something is presented as a solid,
Yes.
and that's been around the spiritualist movement for years.
I think this has been discovered because there are a sufficient number of people that are evolving, whether they're doing it consciously or not, that is going to be able to work with this new state of matter.
Yes.
Now, otherwise we wouldn't have discovered it, and we've discovered it because we've been given it
Yes.
by the higher being.
Yes, I can see that. I can see governments being very interested in this, probably for not for the right reasons, but maybe for their reasons. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's all part of the process, isn't it? You know, it's all to do with harmony through conflict. We can't achieve harmony unless we go through the conflict. It's the yin and yang, isn't it?
Yes.
We've got the opposites.
Yes.
The polarities. And I agree with you, absolutely. It's dangerous stuff in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
But one has to ask, do the people, or the so-called wrong hands,
Yeah.
have the ability to use it the way that you and I are discussing?
Well,
And the answer is no.
no,
They
but
haven't evolved enough.
no, I think that's quite true. But they then will employ some people who are in position, who will still be seen as sensitives, who will have people brought in to actually do this, because they can't do. They're the instructors, they're the bosses, they're the managers of it. For their experiments, they need someone who is sensitive to these vibrations, who actually understands it, because pure science won't entertain it. So they have to be done in secret groups, and use specialised people like yourselves and others to have the ability to try and channel that, to change that under experimental conditions. Themselves wouldn't be advanced mentally on a spiritual level to do it, because their mind would be holding them to the material mind and material possession, where they need someone who is as sensitive comes in. So I think it could be done, but not by those bosses, but they'll be run as experiments like they've already been running a lot of them
Yeah, remote viewing was done and is still being done.
Yes.
You know, absolutely. But on the other part of it, because, and this is where I think it's so interesting, when you get the black departments interested in the this type of work and what they want from it,
Yes.
they put in so much money that they actually help us, because remote viewing wasn't really known about until after they had paid all these people all this money to train to do it.
Yes. Well, this was all part of the secret governments, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the same thing, you know, is will happen with any new technique that uses the mind.
Yes.
There'll be a downside to it, and there will be an upside.
Yes.
I think that the whole purpose of the Earth plane isn't to stop this from happening. I think it is to accommodate it happening so that we can grow through it.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is also interesting about these statues, and whether or not this is so, I wouldn't like to say, but apparently one of the older ones had a chrome sphere.
That's right. Yes, that was discovered in 1990 or something like that.
Yeah.
And there was no way that could have got in there.
No, absolutely.
And when they carbon dated, they found how far it went back, and it was well before that discovery of that material was available.
Yes.
So it could have been extraterrestrial material brought in and then discovered eventually.
Yes. And again, one has to look at chrome again, because that chrome sphere was, the material used would have been used for a reason.
Yes.
So these statues, they come up every 20, 30 years, etc. But each time they hit the media, so to speak, or the media within our field, obviously not the main media, something else comes up with it.
Yes, I think really what's also happening is, as man's learning to discover more things about DNA, and they've been using DNA to code messages and everything, they put it in a water droplet, so the message is actually in a water droplet. I mean, who's not to say in this chromium, almost like ball bearing, there's something hidden in there of a higher frequency that we can't measure at the moment?
Absolutely, there will be, I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure. It is, everything happens for a reason. These things are not given to us out of a whim, shall we say.
No, it's not random.
And it's up to us to evolve intellectually and have as open a mind as possible when we're looking at these things, so that we can understand what it is. But there is one thing that will always be, it will be numbers, so it will be binary.
Yes.
Whatever the code will be, it will be binary. And the other issue is what you've just touched on. You can have a label, all right?
Yeah.
And supposing that, and I'm sure you know this, supposing on that label says strengthen, yeah?
Yeah.
And you put it on a bottle and fill the water up, they will program that water with strength.
Yes.
So that when you drink it, you are drinking strength.
Yes.
So if you had another label with love, put it on the bottle, fill it up with water, you will be drinking love, because the word is programming the water. Yeah,
and the essence of the intention, which is the vibration they create, and we're almost getting onto like spiritual healing, is creating that energy, positive or negative. And this is what mankind really needs, to have that more unified understanding of where they should be going spiritually, not completely destroying the world, and we're not getting onto that, but be more careful of what they do and how they do, even with their thoughts.
Absolutely. And I think this is where the other 12, the other 10 strands of DNA come in. It is, although physical, I just get the impression when I go into it
Yeah.
mentally that it is degrees of subtleness.
Yes, and subtleness is actually the auric energies as well, so higher vibration. Those who can see the auras will understand that, because you can see that coming in that energy, whether it's animate or not. You start to pick that up. And it's only in the last 20 years where they were able to detect the aura correctly and not using EMF through plates on your hands to generate a field, which wasn't the same. So it's nice to know that they're actually getting on the right track now and understanding that higher level of energy, which is, I call, not the physical but the metaphysical, which is the higher spiritual energies that unite us, basically.
Absolutely. So it's all very exciting stuff. And what is also interesting, as we touched on earlier, the ley line conduit that passes through Egypt onto the Guinea town of, I'm going to try it again, Futa Jalon.
Okay.
Futa Daljon.
Okay.
I am going to. It really.
Rather you than I, girl. Rather you than I.
I find it really insulting when people can't pronounce a word. I think it's a sort of disrespect if you don't do what you can to pronounce it properly. And it suddenly occurred to me there should be.
Well, I don't think it's intentionally, because when you're taught a certain language, and we're talking linguistics, we don't shape our males into the values that we need for different dialects or different languages. So it's not through lack of knowledge, it's through lack of experience. I see it in some ways. If you take the Spanish who don't pronounce the word J, where you go?
Futa Geelong.
Okay.
Futa Geelong.
That'll do nicely.
Futa Geelong.
Love it.
So, for it to pass along there, if you look at the Earth's grid, the ley line grid and the Earth's grid, two slightly different things, aren't there? Lots of different grids all put in together to make one huge grid. Where those grids meet and the conduits that pass through, you will find all these statues or writings or artwork about.
It's almost like spiritual mapping, isn't it? You know, using the ley lines. When that place is then got an intersection, that could be the place where they do the worship. They reinforce that energy field in that line as well.
Well, where they all intersect is the landing pads.
Yes, or beams or aerials, however we look at the energy.
Yes.
Same as the pyramids.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is something that I think is certainly worth looking at far more, because if you look at this art, you can see that some of them have got helmets on.
That's right,
so
yes.
They have a human look about them, but they've got these helmets on, or they've got these air breathings.
Yeah.
The cylinders on. And the fact that these particular statues are coming to the fore now with the chrome, I think is really important, because it deals with ancestry, family.
Yes.
Respecting one's elders, respecting the past, and looking and recognising that all our pasts may be very, very different to what we perceive them to be and what we've been taught, because we all know what we've been taught and had huge, great, big gaps in it.
Absolutely.
What they want us to be taught. But also it's the other thing of getting people to maybe accept that in actual fact, although we've got free will, and I believe we do have free will, that we're far more complex the reason why we have this need to have a higher, more intelligent being looking after us isn't a psychological need because of the insecurities of living on the earth plane, which is a bloody scary thing to do, let's face it. It's because we actually do have a higher being looking after
Yes,
us.
as you know, if you were putting it in more simpler terms, if you're a spiritualist, you would see them as guides and helpers and loved ones, and
Yes.
they're there literally by their term to guide us when we need that, but only when we ask for it.
Yes, yes.
And it's learning to find that level of attunement that takes us to that higher level state, maybe through meditation, maybe through quietness, however you do it, or reflection, so you allow yourself to become attuned to that.
I think you've touched on something really important, and I also think actually it isn't necessary to go through meditation. It isn't necessary to be quiet or mindful. We do it automatically.
I think we do, but I think it also depends on the time element of that. Some can do it longer and some can't, because you have to attune yourself. You have to take yourself into that part of your mind that's really called the subconscious, that is not part of that material mind. It's more of that sensitive mind dealing with the metaphysics, so you can sense it. Because if we ask people around you who could see energy around people, the aura around inanimate objects, and we would see that without using expensive technical equipment, then there's certain people would see it and certain people would dismiss it.
Yeah.
Just as we accept around ourselves at the moment, we're using a satellite link to connect us both over the internet, and we accept that, but we also maybe not realise in our room now there's millions of radio waves, shortwave, long wave, all the rest. We only accept that because we have technologies called mobile phones and other devices that we just walk around with and accept it, and don't appreciate what we don't see.
I think that knowledge is a really important thing. Obviously, it is. But if you look at a doorway, every time you pass through a doorway, you go into a different dimension. It doesn't matter whether it's in your house or anywhere. Even if you go between two trees, you go into a different dimension. We are all. There's more than one of us. There's more than one of everything. It's just that we're all concurrent in our more than oneness. So our more than oneness is active at the time, in real time, in the eternal now, in many, many different universes.
Yes, I think
we pass from one universe to another without realizing it. How many times have you lost something and you'll swear blind, I left it there, and then you'll come back and it was there, but you couldn't find it when you went to begin with.
Yeah.
The reason why you couldn't find it was because you were in another universe where it wasn't there.
I mean,
when you find it again, you're back in the universe where it was there.
But I also wonder, in 100 years from now, you and I working, as I call, from head office, we'll be able to try to enrich the people who are on the earth plane who don't understand there's another life beyond the physical. It becomes the metaphysical, where we would be able to move objects away, put them back, just to try and get them to reach out to an understanding that life is more than just physical. And I think some of that is generated by those higher love guides, helpers, loved ones, who try to inspire those on the earth plane who think everything is to do with the material, and they realise that those who have everything with the material have nothing sometimes. So
well,
it's
we are what we think, all right?
Yes.
So if you think something is matter, and this is where I'm going back to this super solid. If you think something is an inanimate object,
Yeah.
matter, it will be matter. If you think that it's something else, it will be something else.
Yeah, I mean, that could come down to perception as well. If we look from the material mind, the physical mind, then we know if we touch something that appears solid and everything vibrates. If it's vibrating close enough to our frequency, therefore it will be solid, and if it's not, therefore it will be liquid. You know, there is a density difference that we can detect from the physical mind, but in the metaphysical mind we detect far more than just
we do.
that level.
We can also, it's to do with quantum thinking.
Yeah.
And they have again proved, and it's science catching up with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
But it is adding to it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good time to be.
And it is saying that something doesn't exist until you think it. So with the DNA, if we think that we've got 12 strands of DNA, for those people who generally believe, and I'm one of them, so I have no doubt. In fact, I think we've got more. The issue is, I will have more than 12 DNA.
I think you're correct in that, and I think what it is down to a spiritual perception where you're actually sensing those other strands, that science can't always do that, whereas people are more metaphysically connected, more spiritually connected, start to sense and see these. When you look at people who are really proficient in the metaphysical skills, whether you call them psychics or mediums or sensitives, they have ability to change even patterns in brain waves when they use MRI scanners.
Absolutely.
And they've marked, but there's no logical reason, but it's just those who have that awareness can tap into that level of resource.
Yes. And that is because they know it's there.
Exactly.
I know it's there.
Yeah,
and
but
that knowledge, now that's it's where does that knowledge come from? It hasn't come, I've always known it. You've always known what you've known. Now part of it will be because we are all the sum totals of our past lives. So we do have the knowledge within our DNA to know it.
I think you're quite right on that. I think there's also a spiritual DNA as well that works in comparison with it.
Well, you see, is there a difference between physical and spiritual? I don't think there is.
Well, I think that it's there to everyone who explores it, and for those who can't see it, won't see it, as you're saying. But those who have the awareness and the sensitivity will have an access to almost like that database of knowledge that's there because they've grown that understanding over many lifetimes. I know we're opening up many different aspects of talk, but. Yeah. I think those who have the awareness, spiritual awareness, not psychic, will then access those for the better, not for the worse.
But is there a difference between matter and matterless form? And I do not think there is.
Well, everything vibrates, so it depends where you draw the line. Everything is a vibration. It depends where you
see. Yes, it is.
So
even so, I think as you're talking, what I'm seeing is this line of vibrational energy.
Yep.
Right? And as you're talking and I'm working with what you're saying.
Yeah, you're actually saying your higher levels to work with it because you've already got access to it. You have another database to access. It's your spiritual linking.
So with regard to the matter doesn't actually exist. It is of our own making.
Well, it is,
now,
it is there.
This is the vibrational energy that you're talking about is only part of the picture. The Einstein only has part of the picture. We only ever have part of the picture.
Yeah, I think we all do.
What we do is we create what we create from what we've got. And if we've got only part of the picture, we will create what that part allows us to do.
Yes.
Yeah? If you have more of the picture, that creation that exists for many, many people actually disappears as though it was never there. Because the bigger picture is something completely different.
Yeah, it's down to perception and ability, I think, in many ways. I mean, science draws its line quite early in vibrational charge. Metaphysics doesn't draw it. It has one parameter and not another one.
No, there is no line.
No, there's a starting point, but there's no end point.
Yes.
Whereas science only works between two parameters, as in binary.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I can't see. I think these pictures, these statues are actually tools that we can either touch or hold that will enable us to go where we wish to be.
Yes, only by those who have the awareness. Those who don't will just see them as solid objects that have no meaning, and maybe just a history lesson for curiosity.
Well, you see, I do agree with what you say, but my experience has been quite different. I have met people who have no idea of their psychic ability, don't really believe in psychic stuff, and yet when I've given them something, they're off. They've done it. They're there.
I think it comes down to what...
That thing is a trigger.
Yes.
Obviously it is. But they went in with no preconceived ideas. They went in with no conscious knowledge.
No, I agree with you.
They can do this amazing stuff. And then what happens is very interesting. They want to repeat the process.
Yes, I think it's like keys, isn't it?
We try too hard. We try too hard.
Yeah.
We want more, and
that's
we try
right.
hard to get it, and that by doing that we close ourselves down.
Quite correct. I think that's 100%. That's where we do, and I think, as you said earlier on, with the knowledge, we're only discovering our own truths we've already got. Someone may trigger it, like you triggered it for someone else.
Yeah.
That makes sense by a feeling, not by logic always, because logic is quite limited. That sensitive is like a key to another level.
Is logic? Logic is numbers. Numbers go on for logic. Logic isn't limited. It's how you read logic.
That's right, but that's only in the mind of the perceiver. So if someone's just black and white and a scientist and doesn't believe anything till it's proven, they won't research beyond that. Whereas you and I, and others, not just you and I, have gone beyond that, and we're looking beyond the values of data, where it's just one point or another point. We're looking for something beyond that, and we're seeing and sensing it. So when you work for people, you're not just using a database off your computer, using your database off of your mind to link with higher levels to give that person some information.
It all comes through the computer screen, for me anyway. Absolutely, it all comes through. It does with the television as well. It does everything. But absolutely, computers are amazing connection with what's going on. But perception can be overridden, and is overridden by events that occur within an individual that may have no connection with anything, and all of a sudden their perception is changed.
Yes, because you...
So, although it's... everything is fluid, isn't it?
Correct.
Everything is fluid. And so even if somebody... You see, I find it, I don't, how can I put it? I don't believe there is anybody that isn't capable of doing, and they do it. I don't believe there isn't anybody that isn't psychic, or in their own way, even without the God gene. They do it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's a different word. I don't know what the word is.
Well, I think it's down to perception and sensitivity, and it's that value that means, do they open the door or don't they open the door, either through helped instruction. So it's down to their own ability, and I think it comes down also to, I would see, how many lifetimes they've had. If they're quite a newer soul, they won't entertain this, and we often see this in spiritual groups, don't we?
Or they're new and they come directly from the stars.
Yeah.
And they have all the knowledge very close to the surface.
Yes, if that's, that's another way.
Can actually bury the knowledge that we have from the stars. So I think, I don't think there is any definite, is there? There isn't. There is always an exception to the rule, which means that the rule doesn't exist.
That's right. It's beyond logic. It's a limitation by thought, or a limitation by experience or fear. And if someone who's sensitive moves beyond all those parameters,
it's beyond the logic that we know.
Yes, it's beyond man's logic.
No, we don't know logic.
No.
Our interpretation of logic at this time is very, very different. Again, we're down to that little picture. We think we know logic, but in actual fact, we don't.
No.
Because logic is numbers, and numbers go on forever.
Yes, just a starting block, isn't it, really?
Yeah. So.
Excellent. Elizabeth, I think that's really given some people something to think about and realise how things are being discovered now, how much link we have with the past, wherever you define the past is.
Yes.
So I think that's given food for thought, and thank you so much for all your words and your thoughts today. It's been lovely.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
You're sprouting them.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small.